All right, I just about yanked these out of my ears. Hello, everyone. It's Megan Covington, or as most people say, hey, it's me again, extrasensory luminary. You can reach me at megancovington.com to schedule a quantum conscious communication session with myself, with yourself, your higher self, my higher self, as we all commune together. I am here with Sonia. I actually call her Rogue. It's Sonia Sunheart, but I call her Rogue. I met her in Hawaii at a conference for Kaya Ra's Sophia Code, and it was magical all the way around. The conference was magical, but there's so much more that comes just from going to a conference. That beautiful conference allowed me to give myself permission to go somewhere exactly where I needed to be at that time. And it was phenomenal. And Sonia is one of these lovely star beings that I met. And we are going to share some of our perspectives about things that have been going on energetically right now. And I ask, and I always will ask everyone just to discern what they're hearing from us. If it has a resonance with you, great. If it doesn't, turn us off. No biggie. It is what it is. Truth is always evolving because energy is always changing, and our minds are always trying to make sense of things and put it in a box and I can't talk. Oh my gosh, I'm not even going to try and go there. What's the word I'm trying to say, Sonia?
Compartmentalize.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, that word.
In a box, right?
We're trying to put it in a box. And what I'm really, and I've been understanding this, but I just keep moving into the deeper truth of what it is it's not about what your mind's trying to make sense of. It's what your heart is telling you. Mm-hmm. And the heart does not lie. It's when our minds get involved that try to, and it's not even that it tries, it's just throwing out possibilities for you to open up other avenues. But are you listening to what your heart is saying, which direction to go? So with that being said, Sonia Sunheart, you can reach her. She has a YouTube channel called Sunheart Harmony. So it's SUNHERT Harmony, HARMONY. And she also is on Facebook at Sonia Sunheart. She's a galactic human being here doing the deal like we all are, just sharing our voices. So without further ado, I will let Sonia say hello.
Hello. Hi, everyone. So I would like to say that, first of all, my name Sonia Sunheart is, again, something that I've recently come into as a realization of that inner alchemy between the sun, or the power that we actually are, and the heart, and how when those two communicate together and act from that place of harmony, you really are a complete, more whole being. And from that place, we're not looking for anything outside of ourselves to complete ourselves, but having been on this spiritual, know thyself journey for several years, I guess our whole lifetime, when you actually look at it as the human experience, having that spiritual or the spirit having a human experience, as we know. I'm on that quest, of like, what is this all about, and how can I contribute to this time that we're in right now, which is really exciting. It's like so we're going to talk about that also, like this whole ascension thing and what that's about. And I just want to say I'm really grateful to have met Megan in Hawaii a couple of weeks ago at that amazing, beautiful conference that Kaya Ra gave, and life-changing, that book, and how we converged from all over the world together, and really that sense of interconnectedness through the realm of imagination and creation, and how powerful we actually are, because that's actually how we're going to be, well, how we're doing it already, building the new earth, or from that high frequency of love, so I think the mind kind of bowing to the heart, is the most important thing that we need to be doing right now, and expanding our hearts, because we've just been so layered with belief systems that have covered up our actual essence of being these beautiful heart-based beings that are here to connect and share from that vibration. And I've been studying a lot of like quantum physics and people like Greg Braden, and the biology of belief, Bruce Lipton, and all of these like thinkers that think outside the box. And it's a fascinating journey to be discovering just how these kind of ancient truths are merging with science right now. And it's extremely exciting to start connecting all those dots. And like you said, the truth is constantly evolving. The more we evolve and the more we're willing to be flexible with what we're learning, the more we can expand into that, higher consciousness. And it's such a beautiful journey to be embarking on this with others that are also exploring this. So I'm really, really grateful to be sharing this with you, Megan, and that we're doing this video. It's fairly new for me to be doing videos. It's actually kind of a deep fear, to speak in public and get out there. And it's like being in a spiritual closet. You're doing all these things, mantras and yoga and meditation and exploring all these things, but it's like, yeah, to get out there and actually speak about it. But it's time, we're in those times now, and it is safe to be who we are and not hide anymore, like, and the fear of persecution, or with past lives, and all the darkness we've been in. It's like, it's normal to be scared to be out there, I think. So it's just part of our, but now we're like, all right, there's a lot of us, and it's like, it's a collective Christ consciousness that we're bringing in. There's a collective, we're all in this together, and we're all connected, right, through technology, but through the field.
Yeah, the big ocean of frequencies. And but before I go further and with you on this conversation, you're based out of Canada.
Yeah.
And you do
Montreal.
Okay, out of Montreal. And she does like retreats, healing retreats, shamanic journeys, things of that nature. So you set up events.
Yeah, I set up events. I've been doing especially full moon, new moon cacao ceremonies. But within that, there's a mixture of mantras and mudras and sound healing, and kind of like just making my own recipe with all the different things, modalities that I've been learning over the years. I'm actually a certified Kundalini yoga teacher, and I've been practicing that for probably a decade now. Sometimes, vigorously, especially in the first years, and that was really intense. But there was more purging to do and more healing, and so I've been doing a lot of that. And now I have to say that I do a lot of the meditations and the mantras regularly, and some of the asanas and kriyas. But I like to blend it. I love qigong. Like, I love mixing it, because sometimes I go with the flow of my own energy, right? Sometimes
and of the group, right? Like, you fill them out.
Yes, absolutely. It's always different, and it's always magical, because even two people together, it's never the same moment. We never step in the same river twice. So it's always like an adventure of like, oh yeah, what's the energy tonight? Like, this Pisces full moon ceremony was so powerful. I'm Pisces too, so I think I really channeled the energy of like Pisces being like kind of boundless and all together, and we're all one, and it really, and the heart really opens also with the cacao, because chocolate cacao is the food of the gods, and it was used in ritual since I don't know when, but it really has an effect on opening, actually even physically, the arteries and getting the blood to flow more into the heart. And since the heart is the master conductor of all the organs and everything else in the body, then we can really go there on a physical level, and then it helps everybody kind of relax into their heart space, because as we know, like I said, there's so many layers, and sometimes if you don't know, there's new people in a group, you know. So I like to just open up that time space circle to be together in a sharing, like kind of opening a beautiful portal of that love, heart coherence together. That's
Yeah.
what I love to do, and I just want to do more and more of that, because our hearts need so much healing, you know.
Yeah. Our, to be wake up from dormant slumber is what I say. Because we are already, I will say this time and time again, we were created in wholeness and perfection. We are wholeness and perfection. And everything in between are just possibilities and experiences and growth, expansion, you know, of where do you want to take this? Because you'll hear time and time again from people, you're the creator, what are you creating? And you know, sometimes people are like, what does that even mean, you know, to be a creator? Well, it's the accountability for your thoughts, and I've said this on other videos, your thoughts and your emotions, and if we're all in this really vast sea, this ocean of wavelengths, frequency, you know, bio wavelengths, and we're intersecting and going underneath and going on top of each other and commingling together, it's with the resonance and the dissonance. So where are you resonating, and what are you attracting to yourself of that same nature? Because the whole great big ocean is oneness. It's oneness any way you look at it. It's all love. It's just your perception of it. And so you know, something really, you know, this isn't going to sit well with some people, and I really don't care because this is my truth as it is right now, is I was, you know, thinking about, well, I'm going to talk galactic stuff. So I was thinking about, you know, the reptilians and the Anunnaki and all of these things that people have, or these beings that they're like, they're bad and they're doing, you know, all of these things, and we've been hijacked. Well, if we've been hijacked, we've hijacked ourselves, because that's a part of us, right? And you know, like some people say, oh, he's very reptile. Now, am I saying that I don't see behaviors come out in people that would mimic reptile behavior? Yes. Do I see Pleiadian behavior in the human race? Yes. Do I see Syrian behavior in the human race? Yes, because these are all aspects of us. So we'll pull them in at any time. And as we focus, we put our attention on something, we also have the intent, because there's intentions that go with our attention and where we're placing them. So this is going to be wildly unfavored. But we'll say, for example, the Cabal. I don't know if any, I mean, there are people that are familiar with it, but isn't that a hijacking of our own mind, disempowering us, being projected out, that we had all of our control taken away because somewhere we allowed ourselves to be disempowered and not taken the accountability that we're the creator and we don't have to align with that frequency. You know what? I want to have a dissonance with that. I don't resonate with that anymore, but I don't have to judge you and put my attention there to keep myself in that consciousness. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think as part of the awakening path, I believe a lot of us go through that, you know, as we're going through the dark places within ourselves, we also start seeing it kind of reflected out. I know a lot of people have gone through, like, you know, the whole black helicopters and you know, that there's this like the darkness is going to come in and take you out, you know, basically. And but on that further line of thought, I guess. We could say that, you know, there have been a lot of people taken out for speaking their truth and for uniting, whether it's John Lennon or JFK or, you know, all of these public figures that were talking about oneness and love and that were brothers and sisters. And, you know, they were taken out at that time through these, you know, institutions that, you know, whether we call it the cabal or the Illuminati, and we're seeing like how it's all intertwined with like our ancient religious, like the Vatican, and like, so all of these systems of abuse and oppression, and, you know, they were dominant. They were, people didn't have the that, I guess the consciousness hadn't evolved enough yet on the collective level for us to start remembering and reclaiming, you know, our divine sovereignty and our power. And so people were kept in the dark purposefully by, you know, these groups, and then it's just got more and more out of control. And I guess as an experiment, if we see this all as an experiment, as like the contrast of the darkness and the light, and that there needs to be this in order for there to be a story, so-called story of humanity and humanity's awakening into itself, like know thyself, you know. If we don't do that, we get caught up in those extremes of polarity, and so, you know, I guess coming back to like the hero's journey, right? It's about you getting through the obstacles, slaying the dragon, slaying the evil empire, whatever your evil enemy is, and then moving through it, and then realizing just what you are within the bigger story, the bigger cosmic story of your soul coming into this third dimensional reality of, you know, the hologenetic biological reality that we're living in. I don't know, it's not easy to explain the way I'm understanding it, but that's how I'm understanding it. It's like it's a human journey, and yeah, it's darkness and light, and all of us have our own realities within that. To some it's very, very dark and very extreme, and some people are really getting caught up in that right now as well, like the sort of the all the storms, and they're reflecting what's going on inside of humanity, right? So if we can learn to be that eye of the hurricane and get to that 0 point where we are the creators of that, then we're not getting just spun out of control into these different storms that humanity is actually creating right now. That's the way I'm understanding it from my own inner, you know, knowing and truth right now. As you said, you know, right now, this is it.
Yeah.
Maybe next week I'll have a new revelation come in and a new bit of information that will, you know, and I'm okay with that. I think that's what science is supposed to be. Not this static thing like like this is it now. This is a belief system, and for now this is it, but like we're in a very high, quick expansion of consciousness right now. So I am okay with that. Like I'm actually more comfortable with that than anything that's static and stagnant and non-flexible, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oops. Yay. I completely agree with you. As we both have shared, it is always evolving. I have really, I really noticed this in Hawaii when there were three of us that got together and we did a little Reiki session with one of our beautiful sisters. And she said, this is for all of us. And I know that whenever we communicate, it doesn't matter how you communicate with a person, whether you're doing Reiki or just having a conversation or a smile, there is a transmission that goes through. Whatever your feeling is, that transmission goes through, right? And so when you have the intent to align with people, you're going to, I see them like, or puzzle pieces, or even like light sockets where one can plug into the other, plug into the other, plug into the other, right? And it wakes up and or activates or catalyzes, whatever label your mind wants to put on it, things within each other, because we're all in this vast oneness, right? And different resonances, different dissonances. And so you are attracting um, these energies into your, these people, these souls, these frequencies into your lives for a reason. There's always a purpose, no matter what it is, no matter how dark you think it is or how light it is. You know, there's always something to that. And I can really appreciate everything that you just shared with us that way. You know, that's your understanding of your truth. And I appreciate that and I honor that. And there's, again, I don't pass judgment on anything anyone says, because we all have filter systems in our minds. We all can get the same information, but we just filter it differently. And we need to keep that in mind. That's why discernment is so huge for us, right? Like what resonates in your heart. So,
Yes.
yeah. I was watching, so that happened in Hawaii with us three, and I could literally feel the energy, like when it came from her, or it came from you, or it came from me, and the way that it commingled and entangled together. And well, so I've been watching, observing that with people around here, like when I got back home, and how I am literally watching timelines collapse. My friend sent me a message and she's like, did you hear that Robin Leach died last week? And I'm like, immediately my mind was like, Lifetimes of the Rich and Famous guy, right? And she's like, yeah. And I said, oh no, I've seen him die like 1,000 times. What is this? Like it boggled my mind, because I was like, no, he's already dead. And she's like, that's what I thought too. Well, as I was paying attention more to that, I started seeing how, okay, so this will be a couple that I'm talking about, how one day she was like, he's being this person. And the very next day he was a completely different person. So they were having troubles in their marriage, right? And I just kept saying to her, look, if you can project love of what you feel for him, feel the love for him, not what you expect him to be, not the way you want him to react to you, not, you know, what you're building this grandiose dream of a marriage to be. Love him as if you love yourself. That's all you can do. You know, it's like love your neighbor kind of a thing. Well, as that was happening, over these past weeks, it was literally like flip-flop back and forth, like fear, love through him and her. And she was actually holding a really steady ground, which I applaud her, because she's like, that's so not me. I would usually move into like a passive energy, you know, like, fuck you kind of a thing, you know, but she wasn't. And I came to the awareness that he's flipping in and out of timelines of his own, and she's observing it. She's watching him go through experiences in different aspects of himself. And when she's holding a neutral, loving ground and observing it, she's allowing him to be him, do what he needs to do, and still love him through it. Now, I'm not talking about like, you know, if someone's beating you to death. We're not even going there. This is just, if you can really observe situations, and so many of us don't observe, we react very quickly. And the heart knows when to respond and when to, you know, take action. Like, oh, this is an action step. The head just immediately goes into fight or flight, you know. But if you can breathe and pause as you're observing what's going on and ask yourself, what is this showing me? I feel like I repeat this stuff all the time, because this is what it is. This is about you. This is all within yourself. What are you projecting outwardly? War or unity? Right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's really about relationships. I think that's the key, is having that witnessing and that higher perspective. And I think we can get there when we're doing our own inner observation first, right? Through meditation, through all of these, you know, ancient ways of connecting to that. And, you know, personally, when I was 13, I was hit by a truck, and I actually died, and on the road, when I had internal bleeding and my legs were broken, and like, it was a huge accident, and I was in a coma for days. But when I died, I actually witnessed my body on the ground, right? So I had that near death experience where I knew I wasn't my body, because then what is looking at the body, right? So that whole experience of witnessing the, like, that from a higher perspective is something that I really have had the experiential, you know, that experience. So then that's gotten me on that quest of like, well, what is this reality, and what is this all about, you know? So I think, yeah, the witness is some people go through years and years and years of meditation to finally get to that place of witnessing themselves and their reactions and their judgments, and witnessing the monkey mind, as they call it in mindfulness or in awareness, you know, meditation. But I think those are, yeah, years of practice. And I mean, I'm still practicing. I still do my, but I feel like I'm more in a meditative state now. Like, it's like a constant awareness of my thoughts and how I speak and how I interact with people. And I feel like now I can actually be that more solid, grounded kind of, I guess, a way shower in a way, you know, like I've been preparing for this, like this whole lifetime has been setting me up to get to this point where we're in times of like intensity of storms, and you know, relationships, people are having meltdowns, and all of this all around, and I can see it, you know, whether it is in the spiritual community or out of it, you know, whether it's road rage. It's just like all the old systems are falling apart. This whole city here sometimes feels like it's falling apart. Everything's under construction, you know. So, but as those systems fall apart, then that this rebirth is emerging out of, you know, the phoenix. It's the same story over and over again, but we, on an individual level, we have that, and then we have that as our collective story, that we're finally rising out of the ashes of this of these systems that have been very controlling and manipulative, but they're not anymore. They're,
Yeah.
you know, that's when we choose that. And the more of us choose that, and the more we streamline ourselves into that potentiality that we understand we are creating. And actually, it's already created. It's just that now we're here to remember it and put those energies into motion, right? That's the emotions, and from the heart space. So as we're realigning with those frequencies, we're creating that potential into our future reality. And those of us that are aligned with that, that's where we're going. Those of the others that want to keep, like, the realities will be like, as exactly as you said, they'll be reflecting where people are at in order for them to learn. And you can stay there as long as you want, you know. I mean, there is no time, and on a soul level, it's on the human level, and that's what creates so much anxiety in people, and anguish, is this very, very limited reality of like, you're born, and then you have your life, and then you die, and then people don't know if you're not connected to your soul or your higher self, you're going to be going through some very confusing and very, you know, disturbing and chaotic times right now. So I think, you know, that's why being a guide or being a mentor, or, you know, holding space, gathering, not holding, but creating that space together,
Yeah.
really what we need to be doing, you know. That, anyways, that's the calling that I'm getting right now, is just to connect to that frequency and that potentiality that we're co-creating.
Yeah, because it's like you said, we're always connected to our higher, we're always connected to our soul, but we're not always listening to it, right?
Yeah.
We're there's some, myself included, I don't ever discount myself from any experience, because, you know,
Yeah,
it is what it is, right? But right, but it's like, I would look at my higher self at one time as this outside of me aspect. you know, that I'm not really connecting to it, when it's a choice. It's your words, it's your belief. Do you feel like you can't connect to it? So it is,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
How empowering is that, eh? Like
Right?
that's a whole other reality.
I know. And that is where my head is lately. It's like we're constantly being told all of these things that we are not. How about let's flip that to you are, right? I mean, doesn't that just put a whole like breath of air in your wings, like to fly? Like I can do anything. Yeah.
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 I think when we talk about the pole shift, or like the Earth is going through the pole shift, it's actually it's a that kind of shift. It's like going from disempowered and everything is happening to you, and when you flip it over and saying, no, I am the one that is creating my frequency and my reality and my harmony, my inner harmony, so I can be that, that beautiful pattern.
Right.
As with emoto, with the water and everything, you're when you're in love and that frequency, we're making beautiful crystalline geometries. But when we're in fear and hate and anger, it's all distorted. It's not this beautiful pattern anymore. So if we use even just that as reminding ourselves about, are you creating distortion within your own field or your own water? Because we're 70 something percent water, just as Gaia is, and that's not a coincidence either.
It's a
So
projection.
yeah. So yeah, that's something that really, when I learned that, several years ago, it really transformed my perspective on, you know, yeah, frequency, vibration. I mean, I've always been looking into those things. I did a mystery school, and we learned a lot about this. We have a really cool thing called Géosophie here in Quebec, that visionary person put together, so to like a mystery school, but with combining different ancient modalities and things like that. And I learned a lot through that, but I learned a lot always through my own soul. But my soul chose to do this school and to go deeper into these insights.
Yeah, because these tools pull us deeper, right? These
Yeah.
tools open us up more to, and modalities open us up more to the possibilities of
Yeah.
creation, right?
And they made so much more sense than like going to school and remembering which colonial patriarchal bullshit came over and stole land from people and started and brainwashed people into thinking that they weren't divine, and that they needed a priest, and all of these like distortions. Anyways, they never made sense to me. And that's the whole thing with the star seeds, like just coming in to be like, wait a second, this does not make sense. This is and so finding your own truth, and just, even though it's going against the flow or against the mainstream, it's like, that's some of us are being a rebel, and getting kicked out of high school and being a shit disturber. Like, that was, I came here for this. I was like, I'm not just gonna obey because it doesn't make sense to me. So I'm gonna try to figure this out, on my own. But it's
Hence the name that I gave you, Rogue, back
Rogue.
to when I met you, because she was telling me her story. And I'm like, so basically, you're Rogue. And she starts laughing. And then later on in that evening, we went up to get our cars from the valet, and her car pulls up. And I look at her and I go, Sonia, you're driving a Rogue. I mean, you can't make this shit up, right?
No, that was so funny. That's perfect. I love
It's awesome because, the star seeds that, everyone talks about, like, these are higher aspects of yourself coming. Star seeds came um, to be a different way, to show a different road, to open another doors, to open other portals, to open, and these are all within your mind, because they're open to a broader creation and just sharing that experience with others. And again, that will go to resonance, right? So, and it's just not even this, it's just not star seeds, there are, people here on the earth that are doing the same thing. Like, I'm literally watching how the ether energy it's a magnet, right? And so the ether energy of the higher consciousness, the higher heart consciousness, the higher mind consciousness is coming together with the lower consciousness and the lower heart consciousness, because people are purging. And that's a really, really beautiful thing, because they're starting to question things and they're starting to ask. And yes, there is some people like losing it, and it will say that, because and
temporarily, hopefully. Like, I mean, it's always temporary, but
right. And for the ones that there are some that chose not to experience certain things this time around, and that's okay for them to go wherever they go, choose what they do. You don't hold a judgment about it. So this conversation went way different than when we started out and started recording, but it went exactly how it was supposed to go. And I so want to do more videos with you if you're so inclined.
yes, I would love that. That would be awesome, Megan.
Yeah, it would be great. I just kind of is there anything you want to close out on and share with anybody?
No, I feel like we've shared a lot, and
Okay.
I mean, that's what's so beautiful about being able to just open and share our own truths as they stand right now. And I really feel like that allows us the freedom to express ourselves, and to know that it's okay if in a month or a year you're like, wow, I've really changed since then. Actually, that's great. That
It's even
shows
better.
an evolution and transformation, and that's what we're in right now. So
Yeah.
I think the more we do it, the more we show that it's possible, the more it opens the doors for others to be who they are and to claim what we did is claim our sovereign divinity. And as we do that, we really align with that more and more, and empower ourselves and spread that. And that's how we're changing, that's how the timelines are collapsing, because we're actually claiming it and standing in our truth and power as it is. And so thank you for doing what you do. It does take courage for this whole galactic thing, and like it's like, oh, woo woo, and you're like, or you're out there, and it's like, you know what, like, yeah, and that's okay. And actually we're in this together, and there's a whole bunch of us. So
Yeah, there is. Yeah, I love the galactic thing, but yes, many people are like, what? Like, yeah, my perception is that this awesome one source creator of love didn't just create humanity. And from my own personal experience, I know this to be true. There are thousands upon billions of life forms.
Yes.
That are part of us.
Yeah. And the non-judgmentalism, I think that's the key, because the more we can embrace diversity, the more we are those higher beings, because that ending that duality and that constant separation, like that's a certain reality, but that's not the reality that I'm living in, and that's not the one that so that's where it opens up, and it's like, okay, we're ready to be with other beings that are not that are completely different, and we accept and we actually really love and embrace that diversity.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and do they look different? Yes. And I've shared this before with many, many people, that before I see anything even take a shape, I see columns of light or rays of light. It just depends. Or sometimes I'll see a column of light that will shoot out rays of light, and then something will form from that. So, it's pay attention to how your heart feels when you see something that may not look what you think it's supposed to look like, because you're looking at it inside the box of humanity, like it needs to look like a human. I mean, heck, we're killing humans that look like humans. So pay attention to how your heart feels when you see something.
Yes. That is the best advice ever.
Yeah.
If we listen to our hearts, we're just naturally aligned to source, because that's what creates everything.
Yeah, it's as simple as asking if you see something or feel something that is coming across as fearful in your own filters. It's really simple to ask yourself why.
Mm.
Why? And you will be surprised if you don't just go to the very surface of it, of the why, that you are going to hear a lot more than you bargained for in a beautiful way. In a beautiful way. So, well, thank you everyone for joining us. We will be back. This is whoever I talk to, I love these conversations. Thank you, Sonia, and thank you, Rogue. I call her Rogue. So thank you, Rogue. Again, you can reach her on Facebook at Sonia Sunheart, or on YouTube at Sunheart Harmony.
I'm working on my website right now, but when it's up, I'll be announcing that, because I'm stepping out even more now. So
Perfect.
Thank you for this beautiful conversation.
Thank you. You all have a wonderful day.
Yes.
Bye.